keep it 100 because it's time for Hub's Huddle Podcast. Listen to the man that talks sports from football to basketball 24/7, 365. He is known as the average Joe that knows more than average about sports.
What's up, man?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Hub.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Today is Sunday, December 9th, 2018, and it is time, ladies and gentlemen, for our Week 14 picks. We're going to talk about the remaining games of Week 14, leading up to Monday Night Football matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks. A lot of good matchups today, man. But first and foremost, let's talk about that game on Thursday. We came up big with another win on Thursday. Like I said, so far, been undefeated on Thursdays, y'all. The Titans, man, they put a whooping on Jacksonville. I thought it would be more like a defensive matchup, but these dudes did not want to tackle Derrick Henry at all. This man ran for 238 yards. He had rushed for 4 touchdowns. We like to call that an Al Bundy, 4 touchdowns in one game. Poke high legend. This right here, man. This was a huge win for the Titans as they look to compete for a wild card spot. They're also not even out of it, man. In their division, things can happen. I know Houston is streaking right now, but anything can happen over the next couple of weeks. It's just gonna have to wait and see how everything plays out. The Jags on the other end, man, they look like they're just done. They were done a few weeks ago. Thursday was just the icing on the cake. I don't know what's going on with these dudes. These dudes was like a pick to be, a contender favorite. Some people picked them to go to Super Bowl this year. But Jacksonville, man, have been complete hot garbage this season. But moving on, man, let's talk about these games this week. First up, man, we got the New York Jets. They'll be traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bills. An AFC East matchup, excuse me. Both teams are pretty much out of the playoff hunt here. This game is more for a draft pick spot, basically. But most importantly, the pride will be on the line. I don't think neither one of these divisional rivals will be willing to lay down today. There is a chance the Jets will activate Sam Darnold, but if not, Josh McCown will get the start today. I like the Bills' defense in this one as they gave up 175 total yards to Miami last week. I'm loving the Bills today at home. I'm giving them a final score of 24-13. Next up, we have the New York Giants taking on the Washington Redskins. This is an NFC East divisional matchup between these two teams, so it's always good. As funny as it may sound, y'all, both of these teams are not out of the NFC East picture. I know we have the main event, this afternoon with Philly and Dallas, but the Giants or the Redskins could very well win the NFC East. Just imagine if Philly beats Dallas later today and take the lead of the NFC East, the Giants could win, and there'll be two games back of Philly. The Redskins are banged up, and they are, they're on their second backup QB, their third string now, in Mark Sanchez, Mr. Butt Fumble, after Colt McCoy was injured on Monday, he's out for the year, in that Monday night matchup against Philly. This game comes down to how Eli Manning will play. Will this be the Super Bowl winning QB Eli Manning, or will this be the Eli that like to throw picks? You're not going to have Odell Beckham Jr. today. He's going to be out today. However, Saquon Barkley is still playing. He's averaging 100-plus yards per scrimmage over the past 11 of 12 games. I like the Giants today, y'all, 20-17. Next up, we got the New Orleans Saints versus they're going to travel to Tampa to take on the Buccaneers. The Saints traveling to Tampa to take on the Bucs, who's coming off a win last week versus Carolina. We saw, the Saints, they get a wake-up call last week in Dallas as they was defeated by the Cowboys. I think New Orleans will bounce back in this one. I think Tampa will keep it close. Jameis Winston has been playing well since, he has been renamed starter again. I just think this New Orleans team will be too much for Tampa, for them to win this week. Even though I do not trust, the Saints defense. It's a lot. It's these three teams that are high powered. I just don't trust their defense, and that's the Rams, Chiefs, and the Saints. But I think, the Saints offense has enough firepower this week to get them, back on the winning track. I like the Saints today, 38-28. Next up, We got New England Patriots traveling to Miami to take on the Dolphins. New England on the road this week in Miami, y'all. Place where they have been struggling, man. They are 8-10 under Belichick all time in Miami, and 7-9 with Brady under center. I feel like this will be closer than people expect. Miami is not a good team, but it's something about New England and Miami that it gets a little weird. I think Miami will try to neutralize the Patriots' rushing attack, with Sony Michel and James White. But I think the game starts out close. It's going to have people, biting their nails. And I think, New England will start to control the game mid-third quarter going into the fourth. I just think New England has too much firepower in the passing and the rushing game that defense has, and plus their defense is playing well over the past few weeks. If New England's offense ever gets fully going between now and January, look out NFL, because we're going to say the same tune again. The Patriots are coming. I'm picking New England in this one today by 7 points. I like New England 30-23 over the Dolphins. Next up, man, we got a big one. This is a good matchup between the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. This is one of the most interesting matchups of the week. We have Kansas City at home with their high-powered offense versus the Ravens, who has a pretty good defense. I like the Ravens' rushing attack. I think if they could run the ball and keep Patrick Mahomes and that offense on the sideline, they have a real legit chance of winning today. I think this falls on the legs and arm of Lamar Jackson. He cannot have any costly turnovers and must be smart with the football. Ultimately, I like Kansas City in this one. Even though Baltimore has never lost in Kansas City, this makes for a great matchup. I like Kansas City close, 27-24. Next up, we got the Indianapolis Colts traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. This is for this right here is an AFC South divisional rival game. The Texans are red hot right now, and that defense led by J.J. Watt has held opponents under 25 points in 8 straight games. I think Indy is in a tough spot today. Last week they struggled against the Jaguars defense. I think the Texans defense is much better than Jacksonville's this year. A win here for both teams will be huge for Indy. It will keep the division race close, and for Houston, if they win, it will keep them on top and try to keep some distance between them and the Titans, who had won on Thursday night. I like Houston. I just think their offense, they're clicking, and that defense have been playing phenomenal. You can give me the Houston Texans in this one, 24-17. Next up, we got the Atlanta Falcons traveling to Lambeau to take on the Green Bay Packers. This is like a train wreck on both sides of the ball. This would have been, the game of the week, but unfortunately both of these teams are surprisingly terrible. Atlanta has not been right since beating Washington in week 9, and Green Bay fired their coach last week after losing to a terrible Cardinals team at home. The Packers have lost 5 of their last 6 games. The Falcons are not good versus the run, so look for Aaron Jones to get a bulk of the carries as Green Bay relies heavy on the run game here to lead them to victory under new head coach Joe Philbin. I'm going to take the Packers. I'm going to give them the home field. I'll take the Packers. If this was in Atlanta, I probably would take the Falcons, but I'm going to take the Packers here 24-17 over Atlanta. Next up, the Carolina Panthers, they'll be traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Carolina's coming in, man, 4-game losing streak into Cleveland to take on the Browns. They had the wild card in their favor, man, about a month ago and looked like a strong wild card, team. Now, man, they slipped out of the wild card spot, trailing the Vikings and the Seahawks. The Panthers 31st in red zone defense, terrible. They've given up a lot of points. I think this will be a big day for Baker Mayfield, who's coming off a terrible game last week versus Houston. I think Carolina, to have any chance, they must run the football. Give the Browns a heavy dose of Christian McCaffrey. The Browns have, the 28th ranked rushing defense. I think, Carolina, they know they're at the bottom looking up, and they need to win today, to keep the playoff hopes alive. I'm taking Carolina today at a score of 28-24. Next up, we got the Denver Broncos. Will be traveling to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. This one right here, The Broncos are riding a 3-game win streak after losing 6 of their previous 7. The loss of Emmanuel Sanders this week, he's out for the year. Torn Achilles will hurt Denver's offense. One less weapon for Case Keenum. Denver should lean on Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman in that rushing attack. They get the job done today, as well as the defense. I'm picking the Broncos in this one, 27-17. Next up, this would have been a good matchup too if everybody was healthy. This is the Cincinnati Bengals. Will be traveling to LA to take on the Chargers. The Bengals are limping, in the LA to take on the Chargers. No Andy Dalton, no AJ Green, both out for the year. The Chargers are red hot right now, scoring 78 points over the last 2 weeks. This offense is playing at a high level. They're coming off a big win last week in Pittsburgh where they scored 26 second-half points to come back and beat the Steelers. If you've seen that game, you're probably sitting there like, oh, my gosh, how did Pittsburgh blow this one? I like the Chargers in this one, 38-24. Next up, we got the Detroit Lions traveling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Both teams been struggling, man. Combined 7 wins between both of them. The Cardinals are coming off a upset last week in Green Bay. And we have Detroit where Matt Stafford has been sacked at least 3 times, per game. That's not a good look, as Chandler Jones will be looking to feast on Matt Stafford today. Give me the Cardinals, man. Give me the Cardinals at home, 24-21. Next up, Pittsburgh Steelers at the Oakland Raiders. The Raiders are terrible over the past few weeks. The Steelers have been terrible. They started off on fire Sunday night versus the Chargers, but then they collapsed in the second half. The Steelers will be without James Conner, which could cause issue for the Steelers since he has been a big part of the offense. I think they still have enough to get the job done today with AB and Juju. Of course, Stephen Ridley's probably going to get the start today. Just give me the Steelers in this one, 30-24. I'm not really interested in this game. The Raiders are terrible. Pittsburgh, they seem to be, going backwards after they started getting their stuff together. But give me the Steelers in this one, 30-24. Next up, America's Game of the Week, ladies and gentlemen, the big one, the battle for first place in the NFC East. You got the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Arlington, Texas to take on the Dallas Cowboys in Jerry World. Philly's coming into Dallas on their first 2-game win streak of the year, beating the Giants and the Redskins. The Cowboys are well rested, coming in off a big win over the Saints on Thursday Night Football last week. The Eagles have pretty much owned Dallas, and Dallas winning, winning basically 6 of the last 8 meetings in Dallas this decade. I think this boils down to Dallas front 7 versus Carson Wentz. This should be a matchup where Cowboys need to force Wentz to beat them and neutralize the Eagles' running game. For the Eagles' defense, it's important for these guys to make Dak uncomfortable and force him to make throws that he should not make. And they need to contain Zeke. They cannot allow him to get loose. This is a tough call here since the division is on the line. And the Cowboys come in. Will the Cowboys come in overconfident versus the Eagles team who are playing basically for their season today? The Cowboys, they need to continue to feed Zeke, like I always say every week. You give that man 25 to 30 touches, the Cowboys are going to win. For this one, this is a coin toss for me. It's very tough. It can go either way. Kind of like how I did, a few weeks ago when they played in Philly on Sunday Night Football. But I'm going to roll with the Cowboys in this one. Three-point game, 27-24. I just like the Cowboys defense more so than I like the Eagles defense. And that's where I'm tipping my hat at. Next up, we got Sunday Night Football, big matchup, man. We got the Los Angeles Rams, we'll be traveling to Chicago, Soldier Field, take on the Bears. The Rams, they could clinch a first-round bye with a win today. This is a great matchup with the Bears defense versus the explosive Rams offense. Too close to call, but I will lean on the Rams in this one, taking it close in Chicago, 24-21. I just think, like I said, the Rams got a good offense, but I just don't trust their defense. On the flip side, you got kind of like vice versa. But, the Bears, they can run the ball, and Mitchell Trubisky, if he plays today, can play very, very smart football today. But I like the Bears defense, but I'm going to go with the explosive offense, so I'm taking the Rams in a close call today, 24-21. I think it's going to be a great game tonight. That leads us to our final game of the week, Monday Night Football matchup. Got the Minnesota Vikings traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. That's where we go and end our week at. This is going to be a battle for wild card seeding, between 6 and 5. The Vikings are coming off a rough spot. Last week they lost to New England in Foxborough. The Seahawks coming off a win versus the 49ers. Kirk Cousins on one hand. This dude is 0-6 on Monday Night Football. Russell Wilson has been playing well this year. Just based on that, I'm looking at, the home field. The 12's going to be out. They're going to be loud. They're going to get rowdy. I'm going to pick Seattle in this one. I like them at a score of 28-20. I just think Seattle's just, a lot better than what Minnesota is right now, especially playing at home. You got to tip the hat to these guys. So that's it for our Week 14 picks. It's just a lot of great, football matchups today. Hope you guys enjoy the action today. Until next time, this is your boy. Please follow me on Instagram at Hubs Huddle, Twitter Just Hub, Facebook Hubs Huddle. Check me out on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, basically any platform, man. If you got Amazon, Alexa, just say, yo, Alexa, play the latest episode of Hubs Huddle. She gonna hook you up. Thank you to all my listeners across the globe. Like I said, internationally known on the microphone here. This is your boy Hub, and I'm signing out. Peace.